tonight.
Do you believe that Sharia law should be above the U.S. Constitution?
Yes.
A special Hannity investigation. Do American Muslims think Sharia law supersedes the U.S. Constitution?
I take responsibility for that decision, and I want to be as transparent as possible.
Then new reports say the FBI has recovered some of Hillary Clinton's deleted emails. So what was Hillary hiding, and how much trouble could she be in? Ed Henry tonight has a full report. And violence surges in cities like Chicago, yet President Obama continues to stand by in silence. Sheriff David Clark is here tonight with reaction. All of that plus 2016 GOP contender Governor John Kasich reacts to brand new Fox News presidential poll numbers. Hannity starts right here, right now.
Welcome to Hannity tonight. New developments that could spell doom for Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. According to reports, the FBI has in fact retrieved some of the emails that Clinton deleted off her personal server. We're going to have more on that with Ed Henry in just a few minutes. But first, brand new national Fox News polls were released just this evening, and it shows that the outsider candidates continue to surge among you, the voters. Standing by with more in D.C. tonight is campaign Carl Cameron. Donald Trump and Carson and Fiorina, Rubio and Cruz are going to be happy.
Lots of movement and lots of new numbers in the latest Fox polls, and they show that Trump has gone up a point since the last debate to 26%. And Dr. Ben Carson has had the biggest jump in the field. He went up 6 percentage points and is now in second place solidly at 18%. Both Carly Fiorina and Marco Rubio gained ground. They are tied at 9% apiece, and they lead the single digits bunch. The rest of the GOP field is lower down. Scott Walker's withdrawal from the race is now being seen as something of a potential bump for either Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz, or both. They're both courting both Walker's donors and top state organizers around the country. Ben Carson continues to climb faster than the others. He shows significant momentum in this poll, as well as some others in the last few days. And Carly Fiorina, of course, did get that bounce from her primetime debate performance last week, and now has to build a national organization around it. She's been running pretty lean on the campaign trail in terms of staff and organization, so she'll have to boost it. Trump's been complaining that he's the front runner, but people like Fiorina and Rubio are sharing in the headlines. So, Sean, you know this. Voters in the early states are notoriously fickle, and more often than not, they turn on front runners in the closing weeks. So anybody with momentum now, it could burn out. Anybody who gets momentum then might just end up winning the nomination.
It's too unpredictable. It's a heck of a year. Campaign Carl, thank you. Joining me now with the very latest developments surrounding Hillary Clinton's server scandal, our own Ed Henry. Well, she's got that. She's got the issue of the Bloomberg poll where Joe Biden, who's not even in the race, is within 8 points striking distance, and answering questions about Ed Klein's book and did she start the birther movement? She's got a lot of trouble on her hands, Ed.
Well, Sean, her campaign, you're right, may be in need of another reboot. We've heard about the recent one, and it may not be working for a number of reasons. You mentioned the email controversy. She's trying to get past that, obviously, but now a Bloomberg report suggesting that the FBI has been able to recover some emails from her server, specifically some personal emails. Remember, she talked about how it was just yoga and other small matters dealt with in the personal email, about 30,000 of them that she deleted. Now we're told, well, the FBI is recovering some of them. Are there official emails in there that were really not personal? That's one question that will need to be answered. They're also, we're told, recovering some work-related emails. Will they find more classified information? Then you have the Washington Post report that's saying that it turns out State Department officials privately say that the reason why they sought Hillary Clinton's work-related email was that they were concerned about the fact that she had this other email account, a personal email account that they didn't know about. Why is that significant? Well, because Hillary Clinton has said something different. Her narrative has been, well, look, this was a routine matter. The State Department asking for official email, not just from Hillary Clinton, but from other former secretaries of state to have federal records in order. Well, State Department officials are saying there's something different going on. And then you mentioned that poll with Bloomberg. Well, what's interesting there, Joe Biden rising 25%. He's not even in the race, as you say, a point ahead of Bernie Sanders, and only 8 points behind Hillary Clinton at 33%. What's also significant about that is that in that Bloomberg poll, she's dipped far below 40%. That's a danger zone for any frontrunner. There's a new Fox poll out tonight, by the way, we should note, that has Hillary Clinton with a stronger lead over Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. She's over 40% in the Fox poll, but again, down from where she was just a month ago. Remember, she was sort of the overwhelming frontrunner a month, 2 months ago, in the 50s. Big lead. That's been coming down, and it's something she's going to have to stop the bleeding real fast, Sean.
And Ed, on the email issue in that Fox poll, I mean, nearly 60% of people think it's a big deal.
Right, and
she's
a majority
lying.
saying they think that she's lying. What I thought most interesting was, there's something like 82% of Republicans in our poll say they think she's lying. Well, there's a lot of Republican critics of Hillary Clinton, let's be honest. But Democrats, something like 31% of Democrats we polled said they think she's lying. And maybe even more important than that is that a big share of independent voters, the folks who decide a lot of elections, especially general elections, the folks in the middle that everybody's trying to get in a general election, a big share of independent voters said they think she's lying. So that's worrisome for the campaign.
Well, and it goes with the dishonest, untrustworthy narrative that has been going on all throughout the summer. Ed Klein will be on this program next Monday. There was an account that is released in his book that says she went into the Oval Office, yelled at the president, and basically saying, call the blanking dogs off Barack. And he didn't respond very well to that. Are they pushing back on it?
They haven't said much about that, to be honest. Ed Klein has written a lot about the Clintons and the Obamas. You've talked about it. The Clintons and the Obamas don't like to dignify what he reports with a comment. Is it true? Is it false? We weren't in the Oval Office with the president, Hillary Clinton. He writes about a lot of anecdotes where there's two people in the room, much like Bob Woodward does, and nobody really knows what exactly happened. I think the bottom line is that this Clinton campaign is seeing criticism coming in from all angles. They desperately want to get off this email controversy, but it keeps coming back.
Well, and then we have hearings with Trey Gowdy coming up in October. This is not going away anytime soon. Ed Henry, thank you, sir.
Good to see you.
Joining us now, more reaction from the American Center for Law and Justice, Jay Sekulow. Okay, so if the FBI was able to recover a significant portion, if not all, of the 33,000 some odd emails that she deleted and supposedly wiped clean from her server, and they don't deal with yoga, her daughter's wedding, her mother's funeral, or Bill Clinton, who does an email, which was a lie, and they deal with Benghazi, other work-related issues, or certain emails that were subpoenaed by different committees, how big a legal problem would she have? Because I've got to assume, I'm not believing the yoga, funeral, wedding, writing to Bill narrative 33,000 times. So if these other emails are there, what does it mean legally?
I think, Sean, this is a significant development if, in fact, the FBI has been able to find these emails, because what this does is it presents what we would call in the law evidence. Now, if, in fact, that evidence includes classified information that was wiped off the server, that, of course, as we've discussed before, is a crime. When I was a government lawyer a long time ago, we always said, and I worked for the Treasury Department as a trial lawyer, follow the paper, follow the money, you follow where the evidence leads. What you have now is the evidence is being recovered. If that evidence shows that there was, in fact, government classified material on there and that was subsequently wiped off
or subpoenaed,
as we already know and has been confirmed, maintained in a server that was not secured, she has serious criminal liability, in my view. Very serious.
All right. So we're talking about also, not only would she have violated the law, just on that front, when we've gone through a series of laws that I think would be applicable in this case, but then when we get into obstruction of justice, an investigation of a congressional committee, I would think that could be a big issue for her. Are we looking at criminal time, possible jail time, if in fact these emails are not about yoga, emailing her husband, a wedding, and a funeral? Are we looking at jail time?
Look, I mean, one statute itself, Sean, has 1 year. Another one of the statutes that could be implicated here, when you don't have your information secured in an appropriate device or an appropriate place, or you've intentionally interfered with that, which could lead to some of the evidence may start looking like that, you're talking about felonies. So at a minimum, you've got misdemeanors, and then you've got the potentials of felonies. So all of this is really serious with regard to potential jail time. But I'll tell you something else. The fact that the FBI is able to recover this information has got to have the Clinton campaign concerned because, Sean, they were counting on the fact that this was, as Ed Henry just said, was going to kind of fade away. And every day there's something new. And now it's the actual evidence. And that evidence may well be damaging.
Politically, she's got a big problem because these are provable lies now. But criminally speaking, that's the bigger issue for her. And that is, again,
it is, of course.
Why am I having a hard time believing 33,000 emails were about yoga, a wedding, a funeral, and communication with somebody who doesn't email? I'm having a hard time buying
because it doesn't make any sense.
Because it makes no sense.
The whole process
I have to believe that there are emails about Benghazi on there that could be quite damning and also criminal. Now, what do we do in terms of getting from the point if she did break the law? Who makes the decision whether they prosecute, go to a grand jury?
The Department of Justice. So the Attorney General would have to make that call. The fact of the matter is, Sean, though, the FBI is conducting an investigation. If it is determined that there is, in fact, as you just said, information that was classified, that was put on improper servers, that were deleted, all of those are separate crimes, by the way. I don't see how the FBI, even under this Department of Justice, could not bring at least a grand jury inquiry. And when that grand jury inquiry starts and you're running for president of the United States, a pretty difficult situation. And then, of course, if there's subsequently an indictment, that's a whole different ballgame. But you're looking, look, I mean, it's not just, you know,
last question,
whether they've recovered some personal emails. That's not going to be big news. The news will be if there was more classified information there on these servers that weren't secured, and she wiped them or had them wiped, or someone on her staff had them wiped, and that person, by the way, may not have had clearance. There's a multitude of potential criminal activity here that will be very serious. And I suspect that's why Joe Biden's thinking about running for president.
If they find them, and if, in fact, it was Sean Hannity, would they indict me?
Oh, look, no doubt. If it was anybody that was, you know, look, I'm not picking on you here, Sean, but the fact of the matter is, if you intentionally destroy documents, whether it's evidence, whether it's subject to a congressional inquiry, whether it's potentially, well, classified information here, and you intentionally have that put in a server that you knew was not secured, or it certainly wasn't approved by the government, that's what the State Department's saying, well, then, of course you'd be indicted.
Well, I hope you'd bring me a
Department of Justice
I hope you'd bring me a
has
cake
played
with a
politics
file
for a
in it.
long time.
I'd hope you'd come to my defense.
Well,
all right, I got to roll.
I will defend you in a moment.
Thank you, Jay Sekulow.
Thanks, Sean.
And coming up next tonight here on Hannity.
Do you believe that Sharia law should be above the U.S. Constitution?
Yes. Yes. It's a Muslim country, Sharia law is allowed. Other country, no. You have to have a right constitution.
In the wake of Dr. Carson's comments about a Muslim being president, we sent our own David Webb to a local Islamic center to see if Muslims think Sharia law supersedes the U.S. Constitution. Those answers will surprise you. And then later tonight, Governor John Kasich, he'll join us. And a disturbing report says the U.S. military is ignoring rampant sexual abuse, pedophilia of young boys by Afghan officers on American bases. We'll have that shocking story tonight, straight ahead.